Okay, all you bankers and Wall Street assholes out there who drove this country into the ground with your collateralized debt obligations and mortgage-backed securities and all the other Las Vegas bullshit. Now you're gonna blame the people of Greece because you dragged them into the toilet with you? Come on, get a life. The fact that people in Greece have, God forbid, actual pensions and vacations, in other words, that they for the most part live like civilized human beings, has absolutely nothing to do with the cause of their current crisis. Hello? What happened to Greece is basically the same thing that happened to every other country that has been hammered by US-style casino capitalism. As George Irvin pointed out in an awesome column in The Guardian, from the mid-90s until 2009, Greece's GDP per head grew even faster than the average for the rest of the EU. But then, after the collapse caused by financial speculators gambling against our futures with our money, Greece, like a lot of countries, fell into a deep recession, which caused a precipitous decline in tax revenues. Greece is too small to borrow what it needs domestically, so to bridge the resulting budget gap, it had to go to the international market. That's where the disaster capitalists stepped in. If you haven't read Naomi Klein's shock doctrine, you should. What's happening in Greece follows the same disaster capitalist playbook for profiting from crisis that she exposed everywhere from Chile to New Orleans. It's really quite simple. Disaster capitalists exploit crises to push through policies that loot and impoverish the public to line their own pockets. It happens every time. Greece is no exception. Last year, before the crisis exploded, banks and hedge funds bought a huge amount of Greek debt on the cheap, insuring it by purchasing credit default swaps, basically protection contracts. The crisis has made it possible for banks to make a killing by selling what is now high-yield Greek debt and issuing further credit default swaps at a huge premium. Then, you guessed it, financial speculation about debt default fueled a massive increase in the cost of borrowing, making it impossible for Greece to borrow from private lenders. But instead of working out a deal where Greece agreed to reduce its deficits in exchange for loans at a reasonable interest rate, in order to receive the $130 billion euro bailout from the IMF and Europe, Greece will have to destroy its welfare state. As The Guardian pointed out, quote, in return for the lifeline, Greek Prime Minister Papandreou has committed to the most ambitious and draconian reshaping of Greece's welfare state ever attempted. Spending cuts amounting to more than $36 billion, or 11% of the national GDP, are to be made over the next 3 years. Wages, pensions, and benefits in Greece's public sector will be cut, and large tax rises will be imposed. The retirement age is to be raised. This savage program will inevitably deepen Greece's recession and push up unemployment, unquote. To add insult to injury, the European Commission, following the IMF's neoliberal blueprint, is insisting that Greece reduce its budget deficit by 10% of GDP over the next 2 years. As Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz pointed out, quote, with Europe's economy still weak, an excessively rapid tightening of Greece's budget deficit would risk throwing it into a deep recession, unquote. No wonder people there are pissed off. But the Wall Street riverboat gamblers and the politicians who carry their water remain so deeply invested in the mindfuck of disaster capitalism that they actually seem to believe that this robbery of the Greek public by private plutocrats is actually the only way to go. It's like the New Deal never happened. They lack the vision and understanding needed to chart a new, more humane course, not just for Greece, but for the whole world. So the next time someone blames Greece's crisis or any other aspect of the global economic collapse on a worker who actually gets a pension or a vacation, tell them to go fuck themselves. Or hand them the shock doctrine.